Okay, we're going to go a little bit further with columns and controlling the layout of your web page. Now, based on my previous recording, this is the page that I have. It is simply a couple of divs, a left column and a right column. Both of those divs are contained within a holder. And this is how the web page looks. I've got a left column and a right column, red and blue. They are contained within a yellow holder. Of course, we can only see the yellow over here under the short column. My red column has a green border. Now I want to use some positioning so that you can see another way of controlling some items. Now positioning can be a little bit tricky. It's an easy tool to use, but it's also an easy tool to overuse or to misuse. So we want to be very careful about it and look at our web pages under different resolutions and see if things are going okay. A lot of people, when they first see the position CSS property, get really excited because they get this ultimate control. But it is easy to screw things up. So take it with a grain of salt, try things out, and I'm still a big fan of using floats, floating columns to the left and the right, and clearing things that are floating. I haven't used the clear property yet in one of my videos, but we will soon. Just so we can really visualize what's going on, I'm going to go up to my holder here in my CSS. I'm going to give it a little bit of padding. And for my left and right columns, I'm going to give them both some margin bottom. There we go. So now it's a little bit clearer to see that these two columns are inside of this yellow holder. Just wanted to make that really obvious. And while I'm here, I might as well go ahead and put a thin border on here. So now it's even easier to see. Okay. Now let's mix this up a little bit. In the body of my page, outside of my holder, I'm going to put in something. And I'll call it purple box. Just going to use this as a little experiment here. And with my styles, there's my purple box, and it's positioned up there at the top. Notice it's by default it's on the left, and it's above my yellow holder because in my HTML it's displayed above my yellow holder. Now let me show you this. I'm going to position this purple box absolutely. I want it to be 200 pixels from the left and 500 pixels from the top. Alright, now my purple box is 200 pixels from the left of my browser window here, and it's 500 pixels from the top. Notice that as I resize my browser window, my purple box is still in its original location. Even if I make this narrower, it's still, my purple box doesn't move. It's been positioned absolutely. So let's see, what if I just did 200 pixels from the top? Now my purple box is overlapping some previous content. If I've tried 150, now it's up there a little higher, and let's try 90. Great. So with position absolute, you can tell your browser where to display something quite specifically. And you might be thinking, fantastic, I'll just position everything absolutely. And that can work in many situations, but it can be problematic. So let's say, what if my goal is, I would like my purple box to be right here in the lower right corner of my red column. Alright, well I could play around with the numbers a bit. I can see if it's a little bit higher. Okay, a little bit more from the left. There we go, that's pretty good. And in fact, I'll move it up a little bit higher. Alright, so my purple box is now in the lower right corner of my red column. I say, you know what, that's perfect, that's exactly what I wanted. But I'm looking at a 1024 wide resolution right now. What if somebody has an even bigger resolution? What if somebody has a smaller resolution? Well, just by changing the width of the browser window, things get all kind of messed up because the purple box isn't where you originally planned. Oh, it's great at the resolution you designed it, but not necessarily at the resolution of your visitor. So that's why using an absolute position without careful thought and careful planning can be problematic. Now let me show you another trick. Instead of positioning my purple box in relation to the browser window, I'm going to position my purple box in relation to my red left column. Alright? Now to do that, I'm going to put my purple box inside of my red left column. There it is. In fact, let me indent it just a bit so it's a little more obvious here. My purple box is now inside of my left red column. But nothing's really changed. Well, when you position something absolutely, it doesn't matter in the HTML where you've placed it. You're telling the CSS, I'm going to position it absolutely. Unless it is contained within a block that has been positioned relatively. So if my purple box is inside of my left column, I can go to my left column and position that relative. When you position something absolutely and that item is contained inside of a relatively positioned item, then you can position it in relation to its parent container. In this case, my left column. In fact, I put this in the wrong spot. I'm going to take this position. I actually want to have it in my left column, not really the div of my left column. Look at this. Well, now I need to make some changes though. Notice I am getting a little bit of movement here. So now that I have my left column is positioned relative, I'm going to go to that purple box, and instead of positioning it from the left and the top, I'm going to position it from the right and the bottom. Okay, there it's positioned. And look at this. Even as I resize my browser window, it's resizing and sticking within that spot. So, well, what if I wanted to clear the border? No problem. I know that border is 5 pixels thick. Done and done. Okay. So as my red column gets narrower and wider, my purple box goes with it. Now, of course, it is overlapping my red text. You say, well, gee, I don't really want that red text to be overlapped, or to be covered up by my purple box. Well, there's a few different things you could do for that, but for now, I think what we can do is let's just put a little bit of right side padding on this particular red column, and we know that the purple box is about 100 pixels wide, so there we go. Left column, padding overall, but I'll put in some padding right of about 110 pixels. There. So now my purple box doesn't cover up, but it's positioned in a place exactly where I want. Now, this doesn't mean that all your problems are solved. It just means that you now have a new tool positioning things absolutely that are contained within a positioned relative block.